We'll also be crossing to Simon Marks in Washington to speak about Jared Kushner's appearance before a Senate panel. All that's to come. First, the headlines and Nicola Wright.
An advocate for victims of assault in prisons says the true number of sexual assaults behind bars could be way higher than official figures. The Department of Corrections says 15 prisoners have complained of being sexually assaulted by their cellmates in the past 7 years. But the group Male Survivors of Sexual Abuse says the true figure could be 10 times higher. Public health officials are warning flood victims in Christchurch to stay out of their waterlogged homes. 30 houses were flooded above floor level and another 27 at the foundations after the Heathcote River burst its banks on Saturday. The Canterbury Medical Officer of Health, Alistair Humphrey, says floodwater may have been contaminated with sewage and electrical wiring may also have been damaged. A senior executive of Robinson Helicopters and the mother of a crash victim have publicly clashed over the safety of the machines. Robinson executive Bob Muse has told an aviation conference in Hamilton that the aircraft are not especially dangerous and pilot behaviour in this country is to blame for the crash rate. But Louisa Patterson, whose son was killed in a Robinson crash in 2015, told him 44 people worldwide have died because of in-flight breakups in the past 2 years. The American president's son-in-law Jared Kushner has emphatically stated that he had no improper contact with any foreign government during last year's presidential election campaign. Mr. Kushner, who's one of Donald Trump's top advisers, met behind closed doors with the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is investigating Russian meddling in the US election. An Auckland Community Board chairperson is accusing a security guard at a local government conference of racism after he tried to stop her going in. Lotu Fuli says when she turned up half an hour before the conference and went to register, a man waiting beside the door stepped forward demanding to know where she was going. She says other people at the conference reported similar approaches and she's made a complaint to local government New Zealand. That's the news. Now today's weather in the towns and cities with Met Service. Kaitaia, Whangarei and Auckland have showers, some heavy and possibly thundery easing this morning. Kaitaia and Auckland get to 15, 16 for Whangarei. Hamilton showers clearing and becoming fine this afternoon, 15. Tauranga and Whakatane a few morning showers. Some could be heavy and thundery, clearing from afternoon and a high of 16. Rotorua, a few possibly heavy morning showers, then it's fine, 13. Gisborne, a few showers this afternoon, 16. Napier, a few showers till evening, then fine, 16. Hamilton, a few showers, fine from this evening, 17. Taupo, mainly fine apart from a few morning showers and a high of 12. Taumarunui, a few showers, easing this morning and then fine at times, 13. New Plymouth, a few showers, 14. Whanganui, Palmerston North, Levin and Kapiti, a few morning showers and then fine. Whanganui and Palmerston North, 14. 15 the high for Levin, Kapiti, 14. Masterton mainly fine and 14 degrees. Wellington mostly sunny and 13. Blenheim and Nelson blue skies and 14. Westport some showers, 13 degrees. Greymouth and Hokitika showers today and a high of 12. Kaikoura fine and 13. Christchurch and Ashburton just some cloud this morning, 13 degrees. Timaru is fine from afternoon and 14. Oamaru sunny, 13 degrees. Wanaka and Queenstown cloudy at times and the odd morning shower. 9 in Wanaka, 10 for Queenstown. Alexandra, there's some cloud around this morning, high of 8. Dunedin fine at times, chance of a shower from afternoon, 12. Invercargill, showers easing tonight and 10 degrees. It's 26 minutes to 8.
You're listening to Morning Report, and Labour is describing National's affordable housing plan for Auckland as smoke and mirrors. They say Auckland's population's growing by more than 100 people a day, and the government's programme to build just over one affordable house a day is a joke. Let's talk further about this with the Labour leader, Andrew Little. He's in the Wellington studio with me. Good morning. Good morning, sir. Let's talk a little bit about the numbers here. I suppose it depends on exactly what the definition of affordable is. Specifically, affordable is about 5,000 houses over the next 10 years. If you take in the ones that are also being described as market build, it brings it to 20,000. Why is that not enough?
Well, market build houses are those sold at a market rate with a market margin on it. So affordable houses are those built, and our program is all about houses built at cost and at a level that is considerably below the average price of a house in Auckland at the moment. So we think we can get our houses in at the $500,000 to $600,000 mark. That might sound a lot to a lot of people, but for Auckland, that is a pretty good price to pay for a house. The government's plan, they said at the time they made the announcement, there's 26,000 net extra houses, 20 to 50% of them would be affordable. It now turns out that it's way less than 20% are affordable. And for a city that is 40,000 houses short of what it needs now. This is woefully inadequate.
So woefully inadequate, you say also what a broken promise from the government.
Well, they made this announcement with all the bells and whistles and made a promise or a pledge, 20 to 50% of them would be affordable, when that demonstrably is not the case. They actually don't know what they're doing on housing. This is the big problem.
Isn't part of the problem here what the definition of affordable is? And you and the government are not a million miles apart on what that definition comes in at. I think it's up to 650,000. The government says, you're saying between 500 and 600,000. Isn't this actually a situation where affordable in Auckland means something different to affordable in the rest of the country?
There's no question that affordable in Auckland is different because the price of land, for one thing, is considerably higher than elsewhere. Where we get the economies are through the style of build, the style of house, medium density, high density housing, using modern techniques, the modular housing, the prefabricated housing, long-term building material supply contracts, those sorts of things. We'll work with the council about trying to get the price of land down.
But you're not actually wanting house prices per se in Auckland to fall, are you?
No, that's not part of our plan. Our plan is to build a whole bunch of houses. I mean, the big problem we've got now is when you simply don't have enough houses to accommodate the population, you have to build more houses. Where the shortage is in the market is in affordable housing. That the young couple trying to get their first home. Those teachers in Auckland who are at the moment now looking to get jobs elsewhere because they can't afford to buy. I mean, that's who we have to pitch to. So
isn't that the problem though, that getting on the ladder is so much the problem? So isn't this actually more about, or isn't a part of this, essentially breaking wealth being held in the hands of the few? So isn't part of a policy suite here, shouldn't there be one around death duties, about some sort of an inheritance tax?
Gee, well, I mean, if you want to go into the broader tax system, yeah, we've committed to a total review of the tax system, every aspect of it.
And is that something you'd put on the table to complement the rest of your policies around housing?
Well, we want at the time when we have a massive shortage of housing, we want to build more houses. That's the only solution that you can do when you've got a shortage of housing, because we know that shortage it's not just jacking up house prices, it's jacking up rents as well. You want to get that stuff under control.
Nothing's off the table as regards tax, though, is it? But
we said that because it's something you can only really credibly do in government, a full review of the tax system, everything on the table, we'll have a look at everything. But
so that may yet be something that Labour would potentially look at bringing in, not in a first term perhaps, but that may well be something that looms.
Well, when you do a tax review, you hand it over to experts. One of the things we're absolutely committed to doing is making sure we have a progressive tax system, and certainly more progressive than it is now. So where tax falls is fairly distributed, people paying their fair share. What that looks like, let's see what the experts tell us. But even fitting around with the tax system isn't going to build another house. And that's what we're desperately short of at the moment, certainly in Auckland and in other parts of the country.
OK, let's talk a little bit more about immigration. National having to back off the tweaks that it had proposed on immigration just in the last few days, because they're saying there was quite a lot of pushback they were hearing from farming and hospitality and the likes. They say they need the overseas workers. So how are you expecting to get support from the regions for your plans on immigration when that involves cutting 20,000, 30,000 people?
30,000, yeah. So when our plan focuses on up to 20,000 coming out of the international students doing the low quality, low value courses. We don't think there's anything in it for them or us. So we can shift some numbers out there. The other is those work visas being issued for frankly semi-skilled work that I know that we can source from within New Zealand.
Well, you're saying that it can be sourced, but actually businesses are saying, and that appears to be part of this national backtrack, they're saying they can't.
So they
can't do it for the money that they've got.
So a further element to our immigration policy is a more regional focus on the skills and labour shortages. We've always relied on immigration to fill gaps that we cannot fill in New Zealand, because we've always been that way and we'll always continue to be that way.
So might that actually mean that you have to bump up some of the numbers that would be coming in specifically for those areas, or at very least maintain them where they are now?
I doubt that, but what we will do is add a bit more sophistication to our immigration policy, manage it in a way that is dealing with regional skills shortages and labour shortages. But
if those regional skills shortages and labour shortages are ones that are being spoken of now, that exist within these specific industries that National has clearly had an awful lot of pushback from, then you're going to have to maintain them or possibly increase those particular areas of immigrants coming in, aren't you?
No, I'm confident that we can reduce the numbers. I mean, bearing in mind that what has driven our immigration policy is also because a quadrupling of the numbers coming in the last 4 years is putting huge pressure on our bigger cities. That's why we've added the regional element, so we can sort of manage that part of it as well. But the other issue is, it is about genuine skills shortages. We want the labour market test to be applied properly. We still have 90,000 young people not in work, education or training in New Zealand. It is a big priority personally for me that we not only manage immigration but we manage other labour market policies to make sure that we are giving those young people a chance to get into work and stand on their own 2 feet.
So you can't give an assurance to the regions, to farming, to hospitality, for example, to tourism, that they will be able to bring in the immigrants that they currently use if a Labour government gets in? You're saying you might cut that?
I've spoken to employers in the regions and been very clear. Our immigration policy has a regional skills and labour shortages element to it. They can be reassured that if there are skills shortages or labour shortages in the areas that they cannot fill locally, then our immigration policy will be sophisticated enough to allow them to employ from overseas if that is what is needed.
Just very briefly, what is the economic impact of cutting the number of immigrants that you're wanting to? Because a lot of the growth you're saying is coming simply from bringing people in.
But I mean, we cannot run an economic growth strategy or an economic development strategy just on immigration. That is an outlandish proposition. So we have a set of policies that are about growing the economy too. Actually, genuinely adding wealth and therefore lifting incomes for New Zealand through our regional economic development plan, through things like research and development tax credits. That's how you grow the economy. Just relying on immigration to do it at a time when we are chronically short of housing, when we have traffic congestion in our big cities, our schools are overcrowded, that's not an economic growth plan at all.
Andrew Little, Labour leader, thank you very much for your time this morning. Thanks for coming into the Wellington studio. It's 18 minutes to 8.
Britain's Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson has assured New Zealand that it's near the front of the queue for a free trade deal once the UK has left the European Union. Boris Johnson is in the country for a 2-day